Evil Dead is the best horror franchise that not enough people have seen. It could be because the original trilogy is old, maybe it's because it's wacky and full of lots and lots of blood. If you're not good with blood, you can go. This movie is not for you. They used 1,700 gallons of fake blood for this film, which seems like a lot, but then you remember that Evil Dead 2013 used 50,000 gallons of fake blood just for the final scene. They're all bloody, and it's awesome. But if you haven't seen them, that's okay, because anyone can watch Evil Dead Rise. Beyond the lore, it's not interconnected with any of the other films. And with Rise, it's not really an issue of whether you'll like it, because this film rocks. It will appeal to both casual fans and franchise loyals. But to what degree you'll enjoy it, I think largely depends on your history with the franchise and your personal tastes, which we will discuss. But we've all seen the trailer. Mommy's with the maggots now. Ellie is a tattoo artist and struggling single mother, and when the Book of the Dead, aka the Necronomicon, makes an appearance at her LA apartment building, it's up to her guitar tech sister Beth to protect her kids from the bloodthirsty demons that spawn from it. The first Evil Dead film to never take place at a cabin in the woods. I was personally very caught off guard by this movie's surprising sense of humor, because where Sam Raimi's original trilogy is obviously campy and has a lot of slapstick humor, the trailer for Evil Dead Rise made it look way more in line with Fede Alvarez's 2013 Evil Dead, which is not funny at all. It is mean and terrifying and depraved. I think that movie is a masterpiece. So I was so excited to see Lee Cronin's take that ended up actually being a blend of these tones. It definitely uses Fede's more violent and serious take as a foundation, but he's also mixing in some of Raimi's goofiness. It's very interesting. And when a new filmmaker stakes their claim in a beloved franchise, you want them at the very least to understand the ethos and do it with respect. And Lee Cronin definitely understands Evil Dead. This covers all the trademarks that you would want in an Evil Dead film. The Necronomicon, the shaky POV cam, shrieking deadites, oddly colored bodily fluids, fun activities with glass, and plenty of blood and guts and more blood. That's the main event. You're gonna hear a lot that this film takes a while to get going, but once it's going, there are some really great kills and gore. We all know the cheese grater, this elevator sequence that is a clear homage to the Woods sequence in 2013 was very metal. And this film easily has the most disturbing manifestation of evil in the whole franchise, which I will try not to spoil at all, but the third act in and of itself is incredible. That's where the film really feels like it is the scariest, where it's taking control of itself and really doing its own thing. The way the Necronomicon is discovered and awoken is very interesting, and the plot and setting feel very fresh and modern. There's kind of this interesting backdrop of urban decay with the apartment setting, and Lee Cronin is also just having a ton of fun behind the camera. He is giving out split diopter shots like Oprah. At a certain point I was like, is this really narratively beneficial? Or are you just trying to get a low cost per wear on this lens? There's a scene shot through the peephole of their door that is very inspired. Lots of great practical effects, but at the same time, it definitely doesn't feel quite as organic as the original trilogy or 2013. At times the deadites can look very polished in a way that I didn't love, and sometimes the VFX are noticeable at times where I was like, would they have been able to use practical effects here or just made it look a little more seamless? But remember the name Alyssa Sutherland. She is a revelation. She is the highlight of the film and gives Jane Levy's deadite a run for her money. What a great face for horror. Her physicality is astounding. I was also really curious about her comments where she said that she used Jim Carrey in The Mask as a building block for her performance here. I was like, what? But seeing it totally makes sense. Her deadite has a twisted sense of humor, but she's still thoroughly creepy. Just a really great leaving everything on the field performance. And she responded to my tweet. No big deal. The kids are played by Morgan Davies, who is the first openly trans male actor in a mainstream horror film. Nell Fisher and Gabrielle Eccles, they're all fine. The standouts are definitely Alyssa Sutherland and Lily Sullivan, who plays her sister Beth. And what great casting of them as sisters. They actually look like they could be related in real life. My biggest issue here, sadly, because you guys know how excited I was for this film, but I don't think Lee Cronin is always able to have these tones work in harmony with each other in a way that often prevented me from feeling fully immersed. I'm really curious to hear people's thoughts when it comes out for this reason. I found that the humor could sometimes undermine undermine the scares, and the scary attitude could sometimes make the humor feel out of place. I could definitely sense that at times my audience wasn't quite sure how to feel. I also thought that it was a bit narratively and thematically disjointed, especially with the themes about family and motherhood. They kind of barely come to fruition, which I care about much less. You don't really go to see an Evil Dead film for the characterization, but I think this also goes back to tone, because when you're light and funny, it doesn't really matter, and then with something like 2013, it was so just assaultive and self-serious that even though the characters were thin, you were able to see what a horrific experience it is, not only for the people fighting the Deadites, but the people who become them, and that's what made that film so effective. And here, I didn't really care about the characters, and I also didn't find it like next level scary. So even though it was a ton of fun and there's so much I loved about it, about the production and the gore and just seeing an Evil Dead film, I wish Cronin had gone a little more off the beaten path, because it feels like a combination of Raimi and Alvarez, and I like that idea, but I think it just gets a little bit stuck there at times. Third act again though. He nailed it. So I'm going to give Evil Dead Rise 3.5 out of 5 stars. Some people might be surprised. I thought really hard about going for it. The 4, I was so excited for this movie, and I'm open to increasing my rating once I see it again, but I really wanted to come out of this being like, wow, that like knocked my socks off. And the universe said, you just got John Wick 4, let's not be greedy. I also admittedly have very high standards for this franchise, which I think is okay. There are just a lot more boxes to check when you're a big fan, and everyone is gonna have different favorites. There are people who hate Evil Dead 2013, and I love it. So that's what's so fun about this, is seeing other filmmakers' takes on it and just being along for the ride. But I know so many people are gonna be like instant 5 out of 5. So this is a must-see in theaters. Go see it for the horror experience, for the Evil Dead experience. It's a low-budget film. You can also hear my ranking of the franchise soon on the House of Horrors Patreon podcast. That's going to be a very fun conversation. But those are my thoughts on Evil Dead Rise, guys. Let me know your thoughts on it and your thoughts on the whole franchise. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.